Unlike the other Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John's Gospel focuses heavily on the divinity of Jesus. John aims to reveal Jesus as the Son of God, emphasizing his divine nature and eternal existence. John 1:1-5 reads, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." Here, the Word refers to Jesus. John connects Jesus to the very creation of the world, indicating that he is eternal and divine. The term Word, or Logos, signifies divine reason and creative order. Verses 6-8 introduce John the Baptist. "There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness to the light." John the Baptist's mission was to prepare the way for Jesus, pointing others toward him. His humility and purpose serve as a model for us. John 1:14 states, "The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth." This verse speaks of the Incarnation, God becoming human in the person of Jesus Christ. It highlights that Jesus fully experienced human life, allowing him to understand our struggles. In verses 16-18 we read, "Out of his fullness we have all received grace in place of grace already given. For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ." John contrasts the old covenant of the law with the new covenant of grace introduced by Jesus. While the law reveals our shortcomings, grace offers forgiveness and reconciliation with God. No one has ever seen God, but the one and only Son, who is himself God and is in closest relationship with the Father, has made him known. What can we take away from those verses? 1. Acknowledge Jesus as the foundation. Just as all things were made through him, we should build our lives upon his teachings. 2. Be a witness. Like John the Baptist, we're called to point others toward Jesus. 3. Embrace grace and truth. Accept the grace offered through Jesus and strive to live according to his truth. John's denial of being the Messiah, verses 19-28. The Jewish leaders sent priests and Levites to ask John who he was. He confessed freely that he was not the Messiah, nor Elijah, nor the prophet they were expecting. When pressed for an answer, he quoted Isaiah, saying he was the voice of one calling in the wilderness, "Make straight the way for the Lord." When questioned about his baptizing authority, John pointed them toward someone among them whom they did not know, stating he was unworthy even to untie his sandals. John's responses reflect his role as a humble messenger. He redirects curiosity about himself toward anticipation of Jesus, emphasizing the imminence of the Messiah's arrival. Jesus, the Lamb of God, verses 29-34. The next day, John saw Jesus approaching and declared, "Look, the Lamb of God, who takes away the sin of the world." He explained that this was the one he meant when he said a man who comes after him surpasses him because he was before him. John testified that he saw the Spirit descend from heaven like a dove and remain on Jesus. He affirmed that Jesus is the Son of God. By calling Jesus the Lamb of God, John identifies him as the ultimate sacrifice for sin. The descent of the Spirit serves as divine confirmation of Jesus' identity. The first disciples follow Jesus, verses 35-42. John was with two of his disciples when he saw Jesus passing by and repeated, "Look, the Lamb of God." Hearing this, the two disciples followed Jesus. When Jesus noticed them, he asked what they wanted, and they inquired where he was staying. Jesus invited them to come and see. One of these was Andrew, who found his brother Simon Peter and told him they had found the Messiah. Jesus looked at Simon and said, "You are Simon, son of John. You will be called Cephas," which means Peter. This passage shows the beginning of Jesus gathering his disciples. Personal encounters and testimonies lead others to follow him, highlighting the importance of personal witness in spreading the faith. Jesus calls Philip and Nathanael, verses 43 to 51. Jesus decided to go to Galilee and found Philip, telling him, "Follow me." Philip then found Nathanael and told him they had found the one Moses and the prophets wrote about, Jesus of Nazareth. Skeptical, Nathanael asked if anything good could come from Nazareth. Philip urged him to come and see. When Jesus saw Nathanael approaching, he remarked that Nathanael was a true Israelite without deceit. Surprised, Nathanael asked how Jesus knew him, and Jesus replied that he saw him under the fig tree before Philip called him. Astonished, Nathanael declared Jesus the Son of God and King of Israel. Jesus told him he would see greater things, including heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. This interaction illustrates how skepticism can turn into faith through a personal encounter with Jesus. It also foreshadows the revelations and miracles the disciples would witness. John chapter 1 invites us to consider several key themes. Recognizing Jesus' divinity. Understanding Jesus as the eternal Word who became flesh is central to Christian faith. The importance of witness. Like John the Baptist, we're called to point others to Jesus through our words and actions. Responding to the call, the first disciples demonstrate the impact of personal testimony and the willingness to follow Jesus. Overcoming skepticism. Nathanael's story shows that honest doubts can lead to deeper faith when we remain open to encountering Christ. Embracing grace and truth. Through Jesus, we receive the fullness of God's grace, moving beyond the limitations of the law. Consider how these themes apply to your life. Are you acknowledging Jesus' role in your life? How can you be a witness to others? Are you open to experiencing greater things through faith?